does Joe Biden feel emboldened? He did in a midterm election better than any president in recent history.
Oh, there's no doubt he feels emboldened, right? His gut reaction was, no, I'm not going to change a darn thing.
Nothing is.
And so he tried to give debt reduction for student loans. The courts have now thrown it out. It was clearly unconstitutional. There's going to be a lot of work for the ACLJ to do, because I assure you he's going to go use every possible nook and cranny he thinks he can hide in to do things that we know are illegal, unconstitutional, and I would argue immoral as well. So there'll be tons of work to do to stop him down from a litigation perspective. But the voices that need to be heard are those that not only set off against the things Biden presents, but to your point, are forward-looking and present over the next 10, 12 months a vision, so that the candidates who step forward in 2024 to run for these races know precisely where the party stands, know the things they believe in, are prepared and capable of articulating them.
What domestic policies are the most significant looking forward ahead? What do you see?
The things that we did well for our 4 years, where we told ordinary families and small businesses, go forth, take risk, and be successful, we'll reward you. We rewarded people who worked and who were prepared to work. So think, the fancy word is deregulation. I always think about it as giving people space to go out and live their lives the way they want to. So I would start there. I would start with trying to slow down the bureaucracy from regulating, and Congress has the capability to do that. There are multiple tools. They should use every one of them to slow down the rulemaking processes inside these agencies. And then, too, there are big budget battles which set the course and the trajectory. Those budgets have to pass both houses, and you'll have the ability to deny them the ability to build out a budget that doesn't reflect conservative values as well. I'd put those as the top of the domestic agenda.
Now you've got this alliance that we've never seen before, where the Jordanians, the Egyptians, the Saudis, they're not officially members of the Abraham Accord. I think if you would have been there another year, they would have been.
Sure.
This has really changed the way that, like you said, this impacts people at a real level here. Yeah. But then they got this administration still trying to cut a deal with Iran. And by the time they cut it, if they do cut it, the deal will be over. I mean, this is absurd.
You know this very well, Jay. If were Iran to get a nuclear weapon, they won't be the last.
Nope.
Every power in that region will say, I want one too, creating enormous instability. And can't blame them. Lots of risk. It does confound me, I must say. We had Iran as isolated as they had ever been. The world's largest state sponsor of terror was down to their last $4 billion in foreign exchange reserves. And these guys came in and stopped enforcing the sanctions and said, we'll sit down at the table with you, and have grown the Iranian economy this year faster than the American economy. If you can believe it, they'll have higher GDP growth in 22 than the United States. This not only puts their lives at risk of the Israeli people and Arabs, but the people who are protesting at home inside of Iran, the women who have been so brave, they're at even greater risk too. And this administration simply misunderstands how to create stability in the region.
They also don't even know recent history. And I say that because President Obama has publicly admitted he made a huge mistake during the Green Revolution, Jordan. You were very
2009
involved in getting those folks to stand down, basically. Yep. That was a gigantic mistake. It was the Jimmy Carter mistake with the Shah of Iran. I mean, it's the same thing.
I don't think we've understood, and people fully understood, what the Abraham Accords have mean to the whole region of the world. They have put together this whole new fighting force against Iran, but also this new economic zone where Israelis are going to Dubai now. And people from Dubai are going to Israel to see their holy sites. So you've got tourism going back and forth, economics going back and forth.
How big is that?
It's huge.
And you become friends.
You become friends. You know them. You exchange with them. You create wealth for each other. You make their families' lives better. It's even more good news, right? There's going to be direct flights from Tel Aviv to Doha, from Israel to Qatar during the World Cup.
Yep.
So all good stuff. It's continuing to grow and expand. It's going to be stable because it makes life better for the people of those regions. Who would have believed, Jay and Jordan, you tell me, 6 years ago, if I'd have sat down and said, Israeli planes and Emirati planes are going to be scrambled, and they're going to fly in formation together.
Right.
Right? I mean, this is the stunning nature of the Abraham Accords.
It's great to have these pro-life victories. We now need to, as we said, take that battle out of Washington, D.C., and take it to the states and take it to voters and really do a lot of education.
How do we advance this forward? And that's where you've got to win the hearts and minds. And in winning the hearts and minds of the American people, you have to keep the issue in front. The medical science is the reason why I believe from 40 years ago we have seen this change in Roe versus Wade. I do believe, of course, it was God. It was a miracle. It was a lot of hard work by a lot of people. But the medical science, you could not argue that the child was not a child.
And you know this, because it's a child, as science continues to advance, that's only going to become even more clear.
Exactly right.
Whether that's the scans, the ultrasounds,
right.
all of this, the knowledge that this is a baby will become even clearer. But even the science has to be educated, right?
Yes.
That is, we have to educate on the science. And when we do, I always remind folks too, much better to do it with love in your heart,
Yes.
not anger and screaming, but rather with love in your heart for a shared set of sympathy around something we know to be so fundamental, the protection of every human life. When we do those things, we will make progress, we will prevail, and another 50 years from now, we will achieve the final objective of overturning Roe, as we will have a country that fundamentally understands that life does in fact begin at conception.